Welcome to our third of our political candidate forums in advance of the November 8th general election. This forum, a cooperative production of the League of Women Voters of Tallahassee, the Tallahassee Democrat, and WFSU Public Media. Our candidates today are running for the Leon County Board of County Commissioners, District 5. I'm Tom Flanagan from WFSU Public Media. I'm joined by William Hatfield from the Tallahassee Democrat and also Danielle Irwin from the League of Women Voters of Tallahassee. And we're going to be questioning the candidates on various topics for the next hour or so. So let's take a quick glance at our ground rules for the proceedings, and then we're going to meet our candidates today.
All right, so the candidates for Leon County Commissioner District 5, sitting left to right, are Paula D. Bowles-Johnson and David O'Keefe. Reminder for those watching us on social media, please hit the share button and help all your friends see today's discussions. Here is how the forum will work. We will rotate which candidate gets to answer questions first. We have a lot of questions, so we're going to ask the candidates to keep your answers brief. We will keep time, and we'll kind of tell you the time frame on each question. You will know when you've hit your time because you will hear this. At that point, you don't have to come to a dead stop, but please finish your sentence, and we will move on. In the middle of the forum, we'll also have a lightning round where we ask you to keep your answers to just about one sentence. At the end of the forum, then, we'll give you 60 seconds to make the case directly to voters and share your website or any other information.
And if you're watching on Facebook and you have a question for the candidates, go ahead and type them in the comments, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. Time is very limited. You can improve your chances of your question being asked if you keep it brief, polite, and make it applicable to all of the candidates. Candidates, any questions on the rules before we start?
No.
No, thank you.
Great, then let's jump in with the first question, which I have the honor of giving. Paula D. Bowles-Johnson, we'll start with you. You have 45 seconds. What makes you the right candidate in this race?
First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity to be part of this forum. I think they're very important and they inform the voters. So thank you so much for that. Again, I am Paula D. Bowles-Johnson. I am the best candidate to be the commissioner for Leon County District 5 because of my experience. I have had consistent experience in solving the most pressing issues of our community related to economic development, crime, working with young people. And I want to use that experience and my time as a Leon County employee to continue the work that I've been doing. So I think that's what makes me the best candidate for this position.
Thank you. David T. O'Keefe, same question to you, 45 seconds.
Thank you. District 5 voters have historically selected practical, detail-oriented, thoughtful commissioners, one of whom I have the honor of having the endorsement of. I bring that my professional experience, 15 years of overseeing effective government finance offices of all sizes, and personal experience of dealing with many of the challenges that are facing people in our community today. I bring a thoughtful ability to listen, get to the bottom of our problems, and come up with practical, effective solutions that will help everyday people in our community. And every day I come to work for you at the County Commission, my guiding principle would be, what can I do today to make life better for all of our neighbors in Leon County?
Thank you.
All right, what's your opponent's biggest liability in this race? David O'Keefe, you'll start us out. You got 30 seconds.
I have a great deal of respect for my opponent and for her professional experience. I do worry that working at the county for so long makes it difficult to bring new solutions to the same problems that the status quo is not solving. It'll be hard to go from working for the system to being in charge of changing the system to work for the people.
Thank you. Paula D. Bowles-Johnson, same question.
I think with my opponent's answer, it shows that there's lack of experience, lack of knowledge of what's actually happening within Leon County. I think these are the things that will be a weakness for him. I bring with me knowledge of this entire community, great connections with my 30-plus years here in Leon County, already solving problems. And my nearly 5 years with Leon County government has given me exposure to the things that need to be done, and I can walk in the door on the day one to solve problems, ready to work.
All right, thank you. I got a quick follow-up, and we're going to stay with you, Paula D. Bowles-Johnson. The county commission job is considered a full-time job with a salary of $83,945. Tell us what your day job is currently, and you've alluded to that, and whether you will continue in that if elected, or will you pursue full-time employment elsewhere?
Currently, I proudly serve as the Employee Engagement and Performance Manager at Leon County Government, where I'm responsible for fueling the engagement of our 800-plus employees. If elected, I will resign from that position.
And will you pursue full-time employment elsewhere?
So this is a part-time opportunity. I currently run a nonprofit, so I will continue with my nonprofit work. I will not let those kids down. They look
Can you
for
name
me to
that
work with them.
nonprofit too?
Capital City Youth Development Corporation.
Thank you. David O'Keefe, same question.
Sure. My career is as a certified public accountant. Since February, my day job has been running for this office. Before that, I was chief financial officer for WFSU. There are a lot of elected officials who have other full-time jobs and serve well. This is just how I am choosing to serve. I want to dedicate all my time to this, and that's just my personal choice.
And if elected, you will not pursue?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Okay.
You're up.
We'll
Looking
do
the wrong
this
way.
here. David, if we could start with you on this in a 45-second response for both of you, please. What do you consider to be an example of good stewardship of taxpayer dollars? And also, can you cite an example where maybe that public investment has fallen short?
Sure. I'd say a good stewardship of public dollars would be, it's a blueprint project, as an example. Magnolia Drive Trail, where we reconstructed roads and sidewalks, moved power lines underground, and created a long multi-use trail between Appalachia and Monroe Street. And a bad one, I'll skip the elephant in the room and I'll say, no, I won't. It's Doak Campbell. You know, it's a huge one. And people say, why do we keep talking about it? Because it's huge. It's an absolute misuse of taxpayer dollars.
Thank you very much. Paula, same question, please.
I actually was going to talk about Magnolia, but I will say Cascades. That's an opportunity for a lot of our families to get out and enjoy the beautiful amenities that we have out there at that park. We have lots of opportunities to bring in entertainment in a family-friendly way. So I think that was a great use of Blueprint funds. I will also echo, we've heard the public outcry from our citizens regarding Doak. I think some of the people that made decisions regarding Doak Campbell stadiums, if they had an opportunity, they might also rethink their position.
Your chance for extra time. Do you all know of any other project other than Doak there where things have fallen short? 15 seconds. And you don't have to, just giving you the chance. Doak seems to be an obvious one.
It is. It is.
I'd be happy to.
Sure.
Washington Square. It got taxpayer money. It was never well financed. It is stalled. It's failed and is an eyesore and a danger to our downtown community.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, Miss Danielle.
Okay. Was Amazon a good deal for this city? And as they dial back expansion plans, how will you ensure that they stand by their part of the deal that earned them $2.5 million in incentives? Paula D. Bowles-Johnson, we'll start with you, 45 seconds.
I think Amazon was an absolutely great win for Leon County. I love the fact that it'll bring in more jobs and more opportunity for competition. It will give our folks in our community the opportunity to earn a living wage and get additional job training. The notion of them not honoring their word is not one that sits right with me and none of our neighbors, frankly. So one of the things that I would certainly push for is to ensure that they honor their agreement. We did business on the forefront and we agreed to terms. We have contracts in place. They must honor them.
Thank you. David O'Keefe, same question to you.
Sure. Amazon is going to be great in creating 1,000 jobs, and it's great that they came here. I would say it was a good deal. We could have made a better deal. I don't think we needed to give them all $2.5 million of taxpayer grant money to get them here, when likely what they needed was an interstate accessible location halfway between the major markets of Jacksonville and Pensacola. So first, it's good. I don't think we negotiated strong enough, and that's a trend in our local government. How do we keep them to honor their word? One, any future grants like this, we have to have contractual obligations and clawbacks with specific triggers. And in this case, they are likely to perhaps be requesting new grant projects for other projects in the Northeast. And if they don't hold to the first, they certainly can't expect help in the second.
Thank you.
Folks, our next question is based on a tragic numerical update here. We just got new numbers here this morning. According to that running count on Tallahassee.com, 15 people have died, at least 66 now have been injured from a total of 92 shooting incidents so far this year. What is one thing you would pledge to do to mitigate that bloodshed? Well, let's take a full minute for this one, shall we? And David O'Keefe, if you could start us off.
This problem has been a long time in development. We need to be honest that we're not going to be able to make a change today and tomorrow the violence stops. But we can and must take immediate action, more so than we have been. The main thing we should be doing is bringing in a violence intervention program that has proven effective in other cities like ours. One such program being suggested to the city is the Group Violence Intervention Program, GVI. And this is a three-prong approach program that has been effective in cities like New Orleans and Oakland, where you join community leaders, social services providers, and law enforcement to take a three-prong approach to reducing violence on a group level. If we don't choose that one, we choose another one that's proven effective. But we have to look where things have been effective elsewhere and take that program and put it in place here immediately. And we need to put the funding and the policy making behind it. We cannot wait to start making these changes.
Thank you. Paula DeBoles-Johnson, your thoughts.
So a lot of the things that my opponent is discussing are already in place here in the city, not that specific program. But what we need to do is continue to expand upon these services. We also need to have staunch support for the Sheriff's All-In program. There are a lot of things that are going on in the city where people are just not informed that we have access to those things. We just need to go out there and look. I will pledge to ensure that we're continuing to support the Council on Men and Boys, putting more resources in terms of the Oasis Center for Girls, all of these wraparound services that support our communities. We have nonprofits that do this work. We need to support those nonprofits financially so that they can expand those services. And that will help reduce crime.
One quick follow-up on that. What letter grade do you give law enforcement, both LCSO and TPD, in addressing this problem? 30 seconds. Paula DeBoles-Johnson.
So I'm proud of both of our law enforcement agencies. And as a member of the TPD Citizens Advisory Committee, we work firsthand to bridge the gap between the community and law enforcement. What I know is that the law enforcement agencies can't do it by themselves. Citizens also have a part to play. So I would give them a B+ because there's always room for improvement, and I never give A's.
All right. David O'Keefe.
I want to be clear that TPD and LCSO are very different, and TPD is clearly under the city. This county doesn't have purview of that. And to be clear that this is a community problem that requires community solutions. Since you asked for a grade, I'd give TPD's effectiveness a C-, and I would give LCSO a B+. And that's based on that we see the leadership of the county sheriff's office looking for innovative solutions and finding details like going into the anatomy of a homicide report. That shows proactivity.
Thank you.
Okay, local government is criticized by some citizens as being more responsive to business and the development community than to ordinary citizens. Is this perception fair? And if so, what should be done about it? David O'Keefe, we'll start with you, 45 seconds.
The people of the community are not dumb. This perception is fair. This is an accurate reflection of how decisions have been made. I do want to make this point, though. We can't expect developers to act in our best interest. That's not their role. Their role is to invest and make money. Who we should be expecting is our elected officials. Those are who work for us. And those are the people that should be deciding yes, no, and putting in policies and rules that protect our community. Whether developers or other special interests want things, it's our elected officials who work for us.
Thank you. Paula D. Bowles-Johnson, 45 seconds.
So perception is reality, but I will say this. I'm not sure at what point we started demonizing folks that employ so many people in our community and bring resources to our community. I'm not sure what happened there. I will say this. Our leaders make the best choices for our people, but people have an opportunity to stand up and be heard. I think that what we need to do in county and city government is to allow more opportunities for citizens to express what's going on and make sure that they're hearing from the community. There's been a lot of public outcry about a lot of different projects. I think that when leadership hears that, they need to adhere to the will of the people.
Thank you.
All right, I got one question, a specific question for each of you. We're going to start with you, Paula D. Bowles-Johnson. In a past forum, you were hesitant to grade Vince Long because he was your boss. How will you handle the reversal if elected, where you become Vince's boss? Will that pose challenges to holding him accountable?
It will absolutely not. I think most of our voters are very smart people. You don't grade your boss, but he will no longer be my boss. I will be his if elected. So that will not pose a problem for me at all.
And what do you say to your opponent's criticism earlier about the notion of being a part of the county?
You know, I think he's ill-informed, and he said long time, and I thank you for that. It's been almost 5 years. However, it's like being part of any other organization. It's important that you know the people that work there, so it gives me a little bit of heartburn when he insinuates that we're a problem as county employees. No, we work hard every day to ensure that the county and the people therein get the things that they need. And again, I've been on the inside working to make sure that I'm a part of making sure that problems are solved within our community.
All right, David
Actually,
O'Keefe.
Can I respond to that briefly? About am I supposed
Sure.
to? Yeah.
Although I'm going to give her the last word, but you can have
Absolutely.
15 seconds.
Just want to be clear. Public employees, especially county employees, are dedicated, hardworking people that have been extremely successful in functioning in crises and challenges like COVID and natural disasters. What I was pointing out was the possibility of changing from being following leadership, which you have to follow as an employee, to being above leadership.
You have 15 seconds to respond.
I appreciate that. I absolutely have no problem. If elected as the next commissioner for Leon County District 5, I understand my role and I have no problem holding folks accountable.
Thank you. David O'Keefe, nearly 10% of your contributions came from people and their spouses who were connected with Our Tallahassee, a recently shuttered electioneering website that aimed to lift up progressive candidates. You've also gotten donations from many who are critical of the $27 million to Doak. Do you consider yourself the progressive slate candidate? And what should that tell voters about how you'll vote on the county commission?
Sure. I didn't realize that math. There's not a slate. If there were a slate, I'd have a bunch more endorsements of progressives other than the current elected Commissioner Jack Porter. I certainly am progressive, and if progressive people who believe in progressive policies want to support me, I'm happy to accept that. And then I do want to be very clear, though. I have not connected and and honestly not a fan of Our Tallahassee then or now. To be clear. So if a few people who may have been involved have contributed to me, that's fine. Those are individuals who believe in progressive policies.
Your opponent talked a little bit about, the demonization of the business community that has come or been, said to have come with some of the progressive candidates. Can you speak to that?
Sure. Demonization, I understand. So the developer and big interest community have had a very large voice in local politics historically. And I believe that when an entity starts to have to compete with the voices of the public, whether it be now because we have social media or we have more people involved at committee meetings, it may feel like your voice is being drowned out. And it's because it is, because people are being more active. Think of these things are a pendulum. There is a certain amount of voice and input our business leaders should have. And there's a certain amount of input that our citizens should have. And there's a balance, and they come together. What I'm talking about is bringing the balance together. So it's not going to... I'll leave it there, yeah.
All right. Staying with you, David O'Keefe, what story do you want your campaign finances and donors to tell voters? And what do you think your opponent's campaign finances and donors tell voters? 45 seconds.
Sure. The story I would say our campaign's donors would tell is it's mostly small contributions from average people in the community. There's no big developer firms. There's no bundled contributions. There's only one business contribution from a small CPA firm. And so I think it's that everyday people want someone to represent them. They know they're not going to get anything special from me other than the same thing every voter gets. And that's what it is. I haven't dug into my opponent's finances or fundraising, so I couldn't speak on it. But that's the story I would like to tell for mine.
Okay, thank you. Paula D. Bowles-Johnson, same question.
The story that my campaign finances will tell you is that people support me. People of all races, backgrounds, from the business community. We have statewide and even nationwide support. People believe in what it is that I'm trying to do. They understand my track record, and they're just like me. They're regular working people. They save a little money on the side. They take care of their kids and their families. So that's the story. We are a grassroots campaign, and everything that we've done so far is for the people. They know what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. So that's the story.
Thank you.
Well, let's move on to some development, which both of you folks have already referenced in the course of our discussion already, but we'll drill into it a little bit deeper if that's okay. How do we incentivize affordable housing in Leon County? We're talking about it a lot, but how do you make that connection to the people who actually promulgate that development? And how do we ensure that it lives up to that label for a community that struggles with its spot as the top 20 highest poverty rate in the state? 45 seconds for response. And Paula D. Bowles-Johnson, if we can start with you. How do we do that?
I'll say this, affordable housing means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. I've shared before that we still live in the starter home we bought over 20 years ago because we cannot afford to move, and we work every day. We have good jobs. In terms of incentivizing, I like the idea of more inclusionary housing. There's been a lot of great models. There's some in the city, but when we're talking about affordability, I'd like to see more programs. I'd like to see more down payment assistance programs. I'd like to see more support for people to have a pathway to home ownership and not be indebted so far to where they can't get a home and can't maintain those homes.
Okay, the same question, David T. O'Keefe.
Sure. How much time?
The 45 seconds for this one. Then I got some follow-ups, guys, so if you don't get it all in here, don't worry.
Cool. We have to do more, and to be specific, some specifics are, we talk about homeownership and programs, and we need to expand those, but we can't continue to ignore rental housing affordability. It keeps us from keeping a workforce when kids graduate from college who may want to work here, but they can't because they can't afford a rental on a salary. So how do we do that? We put up local grant money when needed, or local grant incentives like fast-tracking approvals before non-affordable housing for affordable housing developments with specific amounts that fall within actual affordability and specific quotas with triggers and specific performance. So we don't just say, oh, hopefully you do 10% housing. No, it has to be specific.
Okay, a follow-up, David, while we're with you here. Parts of District 5, which runs from downtown all the way out to the Jefferson County line, as I know you guys realize, are going to see a boom in housing and other development over the next few years. So how do you plan to balance that growth and the needs of the varying communities in the district? Again, 45 seconds for your response.
What I would like to do is provide certainty for the residents and for people who want to develop the type of housing we need by proactively meeting with each community in each neighborhood as an elected official government and say, what do you want in the plan? What works? What's important to you? What do you want protected? And then say, okay, how does this match with what housing we need developed? And put that in our plan so that developers can come in when they're ready and say, yes, XYZ, this matches what I can do. The community has already said, yes, XYZ, ABC, this is what we want. And we don't have to have a fight at the commission meeting at every development. It's about proactively getting the voice of the community encoded into our plans and then providing certainty to developers who want to come in and meet what that community needs.
Okay, thank you. Paula, your thoughts on that?
Now, on this, we agree. It's important to get community input on the front end. I think that will avoid a lot of the problems that we have on the back end, things that we're seeing now. It's imperative that we are having more conversations with the people that live in these areas before we bring new development. They tell us what they want. They're most often very vocal, and I think that it would be smart of us to have listening sessions first, and then also have those meetings with those developers and the existing community. And together we can come up with a plan that works for all of us. I don't think that people are anti-growth. I think they're more in favor of smart growth.
All right, here's a follow-up that kind of plays into that. And Paul, if we can stick with you here on this, 30 seconds. What's one development, now we're talking private sector, we talked public before, but what's one private sector development that is doing it right? What's one development that is problematic other than Doak and Washington Square?
Two developments that I really like. I think one is Lafayette Oaks. I think that's the name of it. And the other one is, I really love what they've done with Southwood. When they were talking about Southwood coming, there was a lot of concern, and I was one of those people that I had to pause for a moment. But to see all of the things that they have within that community, we'd like to see that in our communities as well. Wow, that was fast.
Okay, yeah, but I'll give you another 10 seconds. Which is not coming up to that standard, do you think?
One has no. I don't have one. I don't have one. I don't have one.
Okay, fair enough. David O'Keefe, what do you think of that? A good one and one not so good.
Good one. Paula picked it. It's my favorite. Lafayette Gardens, income-based affordable housing. And I found out about it last year when I just was driving by, and I thought, wow, that's a nice place. And I called to find out what rent was out of curiosity, because we also live in our first starter townhome, because we also can't afford a bigger house. They explained the situation. I thought, how come I'd never heard of this? It's brand new. So Lafayette Gardens is a great example because it's nice, it's new, and it's affordable and near public transit. A bad example, and you keep excluding ones, we can't have so many bad examples, but there is another one. Wilani. It's not that it shouldn't be done at all, but the way it's been pushed through over the years against the interest of people and genuine interest of protecting communities' environments, it's not a good example.
Okay, one final follow-up here, folks, and I'll turn you over to Danielle then. If you could change one thing in our land development code, what would that one thing be and why? David, we'll start with you. 30 seconds, please.
It's a big code. If we have just one thing, a small thing that can help affordable housing is removing blocks to building small accessory dwelling units on homes. Right now, there's a 5% limit on the livable space you can build an accessory dwelling on your lot. And that's a house that meets the neighborhood dynamics, that matches, that meets code. But if you only have a quarter-acre lot, that's barely a few hundred square feet of livable space, and you can't live in that. We should remove that 5% limit. So if someone has a lot and their family lot, and they can add a small unit that matches, they can do that, and that's more affordable housing.
Okay, thank you. Paula, what do you think?
David is cheating off my answers here. That really was my answer. And what I would also say is this. When we're talking about comp plans and all of these other things, we need to kind of bring these things into the 21st century. That is one thing that I will say as well. We make plans, but we need to also understand that as our environment change, as our communities change, we need to go back and look at these plans and see if they make sense to date.
Thank you.
Well, this discussion about development brings us to another natural outcropping of that, infrastructure. So we're going to start with you, David O'Keefe, on this one. You have 30 seconds. What is one way we could make our community's infrastructure better prepared for and responsive to climate-related events?
Great question. To better prepare, whenever we are building new infrastructure or government buildings that often serve as shelters, we must not just build them up to current code. We know natural disasters are getting more severe, and we need to build them to withstand further and further extreme weather. Being responsive and preventing it, we need to really hurry up and develop our multimodal transportation, make it safe and easy for people who want to ride bikes and walk and take the bus instead of driving a car to do so. We currently don't have that. That will cut down carbon emissions and help prevent further.
Thank you. Paula D. Bowles-Johnson, 30 seconds to you.
So there's a lot that we need to do in terms of preparing for natural disasters. One is, of course, as my opponent mentioned, we have to build better. We have to also use materials that don't use as much energy. We have to reduce our greenhouse emissions. There's a lot that we can do, but we need to also make sure that we're providing additional supports for those older homes. There are a lot of older folks that live in older structures that if we have one bad storm here, and we've been fairly fortunate, but if there's one bad storm, they will be homeless.
Thank you.
All right, we've been asking all the questions and we're tired. So what's one question you'd like to ask your opponent? Paula D. Bowles-Johnson, you get to start. You'll have 45 seconds to answer.
Wow. Got a good one. David, what have you done to support our low-income communities consistently over the last 10 years?
It's a good question. So one thing I've done is volunteer doing tax prep for people that meet a certain income level. And that was one of the most enjoyable volunteer things I did. I did it down at the Smith Williams Community Center. And one taught me about doing taxes for people in the most effective way, and gave me a real appreciation for what I have. The other thing I think is I don't want to be discounted the public service I've done in government agencies that serve people of all income levels. For example, our Florida prepaid college plan is one of the only things that makes college affordable for many families in Florida to make that small monthly payment. And I had a big hand in continuing to make sure that operates. It may sound boring to make sure the gears run, but it needs to be done.
Thank you. All right, David O'Keefe, you have the same opportunity. What's a question you've got for your opponent? And you'll have 45 seconds to answer.
Paul, at a forum earlier in the election, you said that Governor Ron DeSantis gets a thumbs up for attracting people and business to the state. Can you clarify and explain why that's the case?
Because he's bought businesses to the state. That is why. That is the only thing that he would get a thumbs up from me for. And most people that know me know that about me. But that was a great question, David.
I'm glad I got your support.
All right. Well, now we're going to change up the pace. We are going to do our lightning round. That means most of these questions will kind of be yes or no-ish. You'll have about a sentence to answer. So we're gonna keep things moving, and we're gonna start with you, Paula D. Bowles Johnson. What makes District 5 distinct above all others? One sentence.
Our people, I love the people of District 5. You said very short, the people
All
and
right.
the diversity.
David O'Keefe.
I love the neighborhoods. District 5 is not all the same. Old Town is different than Indian Head is different than Southwood is different than Appalachia Ridge is different than Capitola, and it's all in one district. You can live in any different kind of neighborhood you can afford and want to live in District 5.
What is your most prized endorsement other than constituents, family, etc.? David O'Keefe.
To all those people that I'm not allowed to thank, it's not personal, it's the rule. I would say I'm most proud of my endorsement of the Florida chapter of the National Organization of Women.
Okay. Paula D. Bowles Johnson.
I'm proud of all of my endorsements. So there's not one that shines a little bit brighter than the other. I'm grateful for everyone's support.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to forgive me because I'm going to do first names just to keep things moving quickly.
That's fine.
Paula, Tallahassee, Leon County has a high degree of food insecurity. What's one thing you can do as a commissioner to help on that front?
Continue to provide support for those nonprofits that are already out there doing the work.
David O'Keefe.
Direct our economic development dollars to bring fresh grocery stores to neighborhoods that don't have them. Follow the lead of cities like Houston that have 10-year grant incentive programs to bring stores.
Okay. Thank you. David O'Keefe, how many county commission meetings have you attended and how many have you spoken at and on what topics?
I've attended in person 4, not counting being online, which is a great convenience. And I've spoken at 2. Did you say what topics or just?
Yes. What topics did you speak on?
Excuse me, I planned to speak on the decriminalization workshop, but it was a workshop, can't speak. And a few years ago at the legislative meeting where you bring up topics, and the topic was a state law to get money out of campaign elections.
Okay. Paula, same question.
Maybe more than 30, and I've spoken at many, mostly regarding the Commission on the Status of Women and Girls that I was chairing, as well as the Tallahassee Human Relations Council. I've spoken on behalf of the Children's Services Council.
Okay.
Lots of opportunities.
All right. What's one additional public health care service that should be funded by Leon County government? Paula, you get to start us out.
Mental health. There's a need for more mental health beds. I would love the idea of a mental health facility here in Leon County.
Okay. David O'Keefe.
When you're in crisis, often you don't even know where to turn. I would like to staff our local libraries with caseworkers and social workers for people to drop in and get connected with who can help them with their problem and get them on track.
Thank you. In 2024, 25, our community will celebrate the bicentennial.
Yes.
What would be the most important message you would like to share about Tallahassee, Leon County during that time? David O'Keefe.
Just that we are an amazing community that protects our natural environment and our people, and most people here just want to be able to enjoy that, and we can continue that trend, or we can choose to develop like most average cities.
Okay. Paula?
I would love for us to be known as the city of opportunity. Anyone that's willing to work hard, they know that there's someone here to support them and help them on that journey to get the things that they need and be successful and be able to participate here within our economy.
As a county commissioner, you'll be working with your counterparts in the city commission. Toward that end, who would you endorse for the mayor of Tallahassee and why? Paula?
I'm running my own race, so I will not be stating anything about any other races.
David?
I don't think I'll be the first person to answer that question because I have to be able to work with whoever gets elected.
Would you endorse any of your fellow county commission candidates? Either of you? I think you've already answered that, Paul.
No, I won't.
Okay.
No.
All right. Given President Biden's recent pardons, should the county play a role in supporting the decriminalization or legalization of marijuana? I'll give you a little extra time on this. This is an issue that's come up to the county a few times now. So David O'Keefe.
Absolutely. We absolutely have a role to play. It's one of the most recent workshops that I attended. And it's a bit ridiculous that we as a state, but we as a county, included in that state, are so far behind so many other states in the country that realize that so many of the negative effects of marijuana possession is related to the criminalization of it. And we should be moving towards decriminalization, written tickets instead of actual arrests, which is what was up for discussion and unfortunately not passed.
Okay. Paula D. Bowles-Johnson.
I absolutely support the president's decision. When we're talking about the lives of young people being thrown off track because of a stupid mistake. Now, we know that it's wrong, it's illegal, but when you're a young person, your brain isn't even fully developed. So I love the idea of civil citations for those kind of charges, but I would absolutely support that work. And I would, was that the end of the question? Was there a second part to that question?
That was it. What is, back to the short answers, what's one pledge you would make to voters right now that you will accomplish if elected? Paula?
I would really like to see additional resources provided for the CHSP so that nonprofits can continue to do the great work that they're already doing.
All right. David O'Keefe?
Every day I go to work as your county commissioner, I will push for any new way to increase affordable housing stock during my term.
Okay. Name one specific District 5 community in Tallahassee that needs immediate attention, and what would you do to address it? David O'Keefe.
Sure. I would say most recently, when I was knocking doors talking to the people in the Ridgeview neighborhood, one thing, this is a neighborhood issue, which is what I think we should be talking about as commissioners for our district, is the city work that's being done there is creating all kinds of problems for their drainage, for their neighborhoods, for their flooding, and they're concerned that that new help is actually going to hurt them and so make more problems for them. That's something we can immediately start trying to work with the city and make sure that those negative outcomes to them are not going to happen.
Thank you. Paula?
I'm excited to see what might happen with the Orange Avenue project. The way in which that was handled was not the very best situation, but we are all watching and hopeful that that will be a benefit to that community, the South Side community.
All right. You made it through the lightning round. Over to the league.
Yes. Paula D. Bowles-Johnson, we're going to start with you. You'll have 45 seconds. What is your position on the Supreme Court's abortion ruling? And does the county have a place to play in the abortion discussion? And if so, what do you pledge to do as a commissioner about it?
So as a woman, I am disappointed. I am all for a woman's right to choose. It's our bodies. So we don't have any jurisdiction in that area, but what we will continue to do is provide family planning, any other medical support services that families need, especially women, in order to get the answers they need, in order to get the support they need.
Thank you. David O'Keefe, same question to you.
I'm furious about the decision. I'm pro-choice. Women have a right to choose what happens with their body. What the county can do on that law is limited, but what we can do to support women that are impacted by it, one thing we can do is, we know that often clinics where abortions are performed is also for a lot of women the only place they get preventative care to avoid diseases like cervical cancer and other preventable diseases. We need to make sure if those clinics are shut down or related to abortion bans, that we develop and make sure that we have enough places for women to get the preventative care they need to prevent preventable cancers and other illnesses.
Folks, what is old is new again. We're going to circle back around and talk about Blueprint for a few moments, if that's okay. And David, we'll start with you on this one. And 30 seconds, by the way. The business of the Blueprint Intergovernmental Management Committee, comprised of the city manager and the county administrator, is not currently conducted in the sunshine. Meeting minutes are not kept. Do you think this should change?
Absolutely. Over the next 5 years, $375 million will flow through Blueprint. And when you're spending money like that from the taxpayers, you must do it publicly so that we know you're doing it in a way that serves us for what we voted for.
Okay, Paula, what do you think?
We should absolutely do all of our business in the sunshine. I think if we've learned nothing over this past year, it's that, as I stated earlier, perception is reality. We should learn from what has happened over the last year and make sure that we're doing everything that we can to regain the public trust. And that's opening up the doors, opening up the windows so that our community can see what it is that we're doing.
Okay, well, that sets up a good follow-up, and Paula will stick with you on this, and then David. Are you comfortable with the level of ethics oversight of the Blueprint Board and staff? And if not, what would you propose?
I'm a proponent of ensuring that people have a right to know what's happening with their taxpayer dollars. People have a right to know what's going on in their government. I am comfortable with the level of oversight now. I think there's always an opportunity for improvement because apparently people feel like something is going on that they're not aware of. So again, open up the door so people that can see that you're doing the right thing.
Okay, David O'Keefe.
No, I'm not satisfied with the ethics oversight, and I think it's clear that the voters are not satisfied with the ethics oversight. I would like to see them come under an independent ethics board. One possibility that could be done rather quickly, I think, is put them under the City of Tallahassee Independent Ethics Boards by using an intergovernmental agreement.
Very good. Danielle.
Okay. Homelessness has become a more visible problem in Leon County. Where are we missing the mark in addressing this complex issue? David O'Keefe, we'll start with you, and you have 30 seconds.
We'll give you 45.
Well, look at that.
Thank you. We all know homelessness is more visible and getting worse. This is a symptom of affordable housing crisis and ways that local government has been missing the mark. Since you asked the ways we've been missing the mark, we have been trying to impede new nonprofit, privately funded shelters from opening when they use non-taxpayer money to provide temporary housing. We have been removing things like covered bus stations just to prevent people from sleeping there so that regular citizens can't even get out of the rain waiting for the bus. And we have taken down parks and benches to avoid people sleeping there. What that does is it pushes people more and more into the public, and it pushes them more and more to the edge when we should be allowing more resources and getting out of the way of private nonprofits who are wanting to help shelter people.
Thank you. Paula D. Bowles-Johnson, same question.
So we can't criminalize people that don't have homes. But what we need to be focusing on is more public-private partnerships. Again, there's lots of federal money out there. And there are lots of cities that have gotten this right, where they start with rapid rehousing for the homeless. Once you go ahead and house someone, then you have the opportunity to provide the other support services. Once you do that, things like mental health support, job training, whatever it is they need to get back on their feet. Once you've housed them, provided those services, chances are you can get them into more stable housing. So there's a lot of opportunities for us. You just need the will, and you need someone with some innovation and I would say the wherewithal to make sure that this gets done. It has to be a priority for us.
Thank you. Candidates, we've covered a lot of topics today. We have another question for you before we wrap up. Paula D. Bowles-Johnson, we'll start with you, 45 seconds. What is an important issue for District 5 that we did not talk about here today?
So we sort of couched it, but economic development. Economic development will cure a lot of ills that are happening right now in our community. And frankly, if we have a strong economic development plan, it takes care of the crime. It takes care of affordable housing. It helps people get jobs. So that's something that I would really like for us to come up with a plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, further down the road so that we can envision what it is we want our city to look like in the future. People know me to be a planner. I have great ideas, but I'm also one of those people who will stop and listen. I'm not the smartest person in the room. I like to listen to ideas and hear from others about what they want for our county.
Thank you. David O'Keefe.
Yeah, one issue we didn't talk about is a major issue for everyone, and I'd love to focus on it in District 5, is we have a lack of affordable childcare. And that is an economic development problem. That's a workforce problem. That's a childhood development problem. And we need to be working on whether it's economic development dollars to open those childcare businesses or public support for childcare for people that meet certain requirements. We have to bring affordable childcare to our community. It is holding us back in so many other areas.
All right, before we go to closing arguments, I want y'all to tell me a story in miniature. 45 seconds. Tell me about the moment you decided to run. David O'Keefe.
I was watching the turmoil in 2000, the protests in the summer, and I was seeing how our government was responding, and it wasn't responding to the people. But I said, okay, I'm going to run. But then I realized I wasn't ready. I didn't have plans in place. I needed to save up. I needed to get my student loans paid off. I needed to make sure I could dedicate myself to the campaign full time because I haven't been in politics before. That's one advantage I could take is I could work hard every day on this. Because I'm cheap, I could save up and do that. And that's when I started. And then when I finally paid off my student loans, that was the ultimate decision when I knew I could do this.
All right. Paula D. Bowles-Johnson, same request.
For me, this has been 12 years in the making. My daughter was actually getting ready to go into high school. I made the decision that I was going to run for another office because there were some things within the school system that I wanted to see change. But for this, I've been studying, planning, taking classes, making sure that I've talked with people over the many years that I've been planning this to see what they wanted for our county. So when Kristen made the decision that she was going to leave her role, I made some calls and I said, guys, I'm ready to do this now. So for me, again, it's been 12 years in the making.
And because I believe in milking the clock, I'm going to ask you one other question. What do you think Kristen Dozier's legacy is for this seat?
Me?
Yep.
So what I will say about Kristen is Kristen asks great questions. And that is one way to get at some of the other issues that may be surrounding the one problem that we can see. If you ask good questions and you do your research, you can make better decisions. And that is part of the legacy that I hope to leave as well.
Thank you. David O'Keefe.
I agree. And I'll say I think thoughtfulness and detail-oriented. Commissioner Dozier focuses on neighborhood issues and big issues, and I don't think she takes any decision lightly.
All right, no more questions, which means it's closing time. You each get 60 seconds to talk directly to voters. You can share your website, any other information you want voters to know. Paula D. Bowles-Johnson, you get to start us out.
Again, thank you all for the opportunity to kind of share with the community some of our thoughts about what we envision for Leon County. I have been part of this community since the 80s. I love Leon County. I've worked hard for Leon County in both state government, and again, as you've heard, I am a current Leon County employee. I'm proud of my colleagues and coworkers, but what I want people to know is that I've been doing this for 30 years, already working to change our community, already working on homelessness, affordable housing, helping with young people so that they can fulfill their dreams. I want to continue that work as your next Leon County Commissioner for District 5. You can find out more about me and my plans for Leon County at imwithpaula.com. We're still looking for volunteers and financial support. Again, this is a grassroots campaign, and we'd love your help. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. David O'Keefe.
I'd like to let you know a little bit about myself. I am not someone who's been planning to run for office for 10 years. But that does not mean I come out of nowhere. I have been serving the public, overseeing the finances of some very effective government agencies. I started as an external auditor where I audited local governments, including Tallahassee, and I know how to get to the bottom of where the dollars are and where they should be. I moved on to managing the finances of the Florida Prepaid College Plan, which is the most successful prepaid plan in the nation, with 1.6 million plans being sold to families, with over $10 billion in invested assets that I was responsible for overseeing. I moved on to the FSU Research Foundation, where I oversaw the finances of all research grants coming into the university and the millions in invested patent revenue, making sure that we effectively use those resources to further important research at FSU. And most recently, I was the chief financial officer for WFSU, an award-winning public media station with TV, radio stations, and Florida Channel, the most successful public access channel for state government. You can find more about me at davidforleon.com. Vote O'Keefe on November 8th.
Thank you to the candidates, also the Tallahassee Democrat, the League of Women Voters of Tallahassee, WFSU Public Media, and all of our viewers for joining us on this program. You can find a replay of the forum and all the others in the series on our YouTube pages, plus Tallahassee.com and WFSU.org. The recorded broadcast audio portion will be aired on Thursday, October 13th. That'll be at 11 in the morning on WFSU. That's at 88.9 FM.
And our next live forum will be for the Florida State Representative District 8 race. It will take place on Tuesday, October 18th at 11 a.m. It is between Kurt Bender and Gallup P. Franklin.
Look for coverage of this forum and more at Tallahassee.com. If you have questions for any of our upcoming forums, please email us at news@Tallahassee.com. We absolutely use your questions, so keep them coming. Plus, keep an eye out for our special general election insert, which will include interviews with all the candidates head-to-head. And that will be in our print version inserted on Sunday, October 23rd. And that is a wrap for today's forum. Thank you all for watching.